But yeah, next up, you can see the matches that are going on today. So we have 5 matches here for you today, given that it's the last day of the group stage of the World Cup. And yeah, we start here with Ryan Loseto of Canada versus Benjamin Dorner over from Switzerland. This is a pretty important match because I believe Canada actually needs to tie or win in order to make it through to the single elimination. So this is a pretty high stakes game. We have Gabriel Duran from Peru versus Emanuele Ciliberto from Italy. These two matches, they're really strong teams, have won both of their previous 2 weeks, actually. So they're guaranteed to make it off to the top 16. Not a particularly impactful match in that regard, but I think it means we get to see some really high stakes Pokemon, Kona.
Yeah, it's going to be high stakes, definitely. Like you said, all these teams are fighting to either get first or second, which if you come first, you're guaranteed to get that second place team in your group in your next stage pairings. Means you have a slight bit of a easier head start going into that match, but not the biggest one because there could be an upset from a second place team. But even if you come second, a lot of these teams are thinking maybe I have gone through and they're going to try maybe use the time to practice for Worlds or maybe use a slightly funkier team that maybe they've seen, like I know Japan have a lot of funky teams, or just on ladder, just copying them and just saying, let's get some, get these teams out there, have some fun with that. But the stakes are there, and even if not, the presentability is there.
Definitely. And yeah, just to go through the rest of the matchups, we have Gu Jinghui from China versus Nicolas Carvalho over from France. We have Arat Vera from Mexico versus Wonseok Jung from Korea. And finally, we have Brian So from Singapore versus Barash Akrosh from Germany. So yeah, a lot of action-packed matches. Don't go anywhere. We have a lot of matches to bring you today.
Yeah, lots and lots of matches, and it's going to be great seeing what these players bring and what it brings to a shift up of the meta, and going into this Worlds especially. This could be a player's last chance to practice. Or it could be a player's, first chance to practice. Maybe they've had, all that time throughout the season, taking up trying different team. This is going to be like, right, this is the team I'm sticking with, and going to go with that head first. And then that could be the make or break for what could be a team that wins Worlds or top cuts Worlds or upsets maybe a bubble a while, which could be very upsetting if you see it.
Yeah, completely agree. This is a great, training ground for the World Championships happening just next weekend. So yeah, everyone's getting it their all and maybe even trying out the team that they're planning to bring next week, or they're just holding it back. They're going to keep it a big secret. So that's something that we gotta get to check retrospectively next week. So I'm excited to check that part out. But yeah, maybe soon we can go ahead and check out the first matchup for the day. This is going to be Canada versus Switzerland. So I think we already mentioned how this is a pretty important game, especially for Canada that has not secured the top 16 slot. They need to at least tie or win. So in order for them to do that, if they lose this match, for example, then they'll be down 4-2 and they'll have no more margin for error. Basically, all the other 2 matches they'll have to definitely win. On the other hand, if they were able to win this round, if Ryan's able to win his match, then we'll be going to a 3-3 tie, and then the stakes will really, really get high. So this is a really hype match to be casting, and I'm super excited to see what these players are going to bring. We see a tons of diversity in just the teams that each country is bringing.
Yeah, all this diversity of they're bringing is absolutely amazing to see, and it is going to come down to that wire. I can see myself, a couple of their teams bit unorthodox, maybe thinking if I go with something out of the norm, it is going to catch the opponents off guard and get those wins. Like we see Dialga Kyogre there from Matt Tid, which isn't something that is the most common, but it has been seen before, so it has been explored enough to do enough damage. And, we also see like the dual weather team that did very good at EYC coming out there. So taking a collection of teams that have done well historically or just uncommon or just doing well right now, just to hammer in every last detail of possible win conditions. But Switzerland also trying that same thing, going with a Trick Room Groudon mode, going with bringing Weezing Regigigas back, which unfortunately didn't win, but it's something again that was so that isn't so popular that can go through. And we see Gates in there with something that is very fun, which is going to be very friendly for this World Championships coming up, is that Pikachu and taking the win with it as well on a Hyper Offense team, very similar to that used by Tara and NAIC.
Yes, yeah. I mean, I just love seeing the unorthodox Pikachu or the Regigigas, like you mentioned, but we also see some really standard teams like what Stefan used with the Zash and Kyogre, very, very staple standard kind of team. So we have a good mixture of both, and I just can't wait to see what these players might bring for us in this next match. But yeah, I think shortly we might be able to go into what these players have for their achievements, what they might be bringing today. Really, really exciting. So over here on the left, we have Ryan Loseto of Canada. He's been playing since 2016, so quite a veteran in the VGC scene. And yeah, his current record is 2 wins and 2 losses, but has recently won the last 2 weeks with a Yveltal Groudon team in the week 4 and a Zacian, Kyogre, Venusaur, and a Torkoal team for week 5. So quite unorthodox. We're going to see if they have a really unique combination for this matchup as well.
Yeah, trying to bring that a unique, different team, could be something that does throw off the Switzerland team. Of course, he has been using a very similar team to like Stan, as I said, the mixed weather Torkoal coming through from like EUIC has been quite popular in this format because it means you haven't got to have a Groudon to set up your Sun. I mean, you can run things like Kyogre and Zacian with Venusaur or maybe Charizard. But looking at the results as well, it shows that, he has the ability to maybe bring a team that he's used before, or a friend has used, and take it to high standard. And compared that to Benjamin Dorner, who hasn't really got the finishers on the screen, but maybe, has got some offline, or maybe has got some, tucked away somewhere. Of course, Switzerland hasn't had the best chances at representing themselves at tournaments just because of how often European tournaments happen. But with players on his team as well, he has access to a lot of teams that can maybe, bounce back and forth and maybe give Ryan a run for his money, as we do see here that he has gone with a somewhat standard team, the one that Gabriel Agati used to do very well at NAIC, coming up against a Calyrex Palkia team, which players like to use to try and disrupt their opponents, to try and it's a very disruptive Trick Room team where it can go slow and steady, or it can go, kind of semi-fast outside Trick Room and deal a lot of damage either way.
Yes, I believe these are 2 teams that did extremely well at the North American International Championships. Like you said, Gabriel Gatti, I believe, going up as a runner-up with that team. And on the other hand, Ryan Loseto is using this team that I believe Alex Underhill and Justin Burns both used to a lot of success this season. So we talked about the diversity earlier. This one is a little bit more of a standard matchup, but that doesn't mean there is no, doesn't hinder the excitement of this matchup. And it doesn't look like the Kyogre has a great matchup against the Palkia, but the Zacian has a pretty good matchup against the Palkia, which also has a good matchup against the Calyrex Ice. And there's just a lot of rock paper scissors happening here, so I'm pretty excited to see how these leads come out, because I think that really dictates how these matches go. Like, is Ryan able to set up Trick Room from turn 1? Does he have to kind of pivot around? And I think we're just about to find out as Benjamin comes out with the Kyogre Zacian lead, very offensive, knowing that Ryan doesn't have a very fast mode, so able to bring out the Kyogre without any sort of speed control support. As Ryan comes out with the Incineroar and Palkia.
Yeah, it's a very good lead there from Benjamin, like you said, knowing that there is no true speed on Ryan's side. But on contrary to that, where it lacks speed, it does have lots of bulk, especially into these 2 strong Pokemon. The water typing on Zacian, Palkia, is very good. Looking at that Kyogre, especially with Dragon typing as well, it can take very little damage from any moves it gets hit at. Zacian has access to that Play Rough and can still do a fair chunk with Behemoth Blade, but Incineroar coming in next to it is quite nice because it is going to drop its attack stat, so it is neutral, still really high given Zacian's base stats, but still that super high +1, and you have access to things like Parting Shot, or just using a Fake Out for disruptions. We have seen Ryan hover over on the screen here, so both players going for good leads and just options as a plethora, a handful, which could be scary there as the Fake Out does come out. The Water Spout does come out from Kyogre. See how little that does to Palkia. It does a chunk to Incineroar, getting rid of it, which is quite obvious there. Palkia living quite handily. And we're just going to see a Trick Room go up, which is going to be amazing because of that, because it just sets the pace straight away for Ryan.
Yeah, we see the Fake Out go into Zacian, a Pokemon that is not able to Dynamax, so a very, very safe, target for Fake Out. On the other hand, Kyogre might be Dynamaxing, so you risk getting the Palkia getting knocked out if you do the Fake Out into that slot. I think that was a relatively safe play from both ends. There was no risk for Benjamin to protect or switch anything out. But that also means Ryan was able to get the Trick Room up as planned, and now he has 4 turns to basically break through Benjamin's team, and it's going to be a matter of, is he able to do that, and is Benjamin able to, on the other hand, sort of stave off Ryan's aggression and prevent him from getting a second Trick Room up.
Yeah, preventing that second Trick Room against these teams is really good if you can stall a Trick Room out. But, like I said at the start, unfortunately, some of these Trick Room teams that have the sheer power that once the Trick Room is up, you can do loads of damage. If not, you can be very stally. Palkia, having access to things like Max Wormwind means that you can make Zacian even weaker, meaning that even if it goes to those player after Behemoth Blades into what is super effective into both of these Pokemon on the field, it won't do very much damage, as Palkia does go big for that Dynamax option and could likely go for that Max Wormwind, get a nice chunk of damage on Koga, meaning even less damage in Water Spout, forcing it to go for its own Dynamax, or maybe even Origin Pulsing, which risks a miss. And it also means that Calyrex can happily just, take some moves from Zacian and just go for its own moves. High horsepower can do loads of damage there. If you do see a double protect though, so just a nice contingency plan, making sure that, Benjamin's Pokemon are both safe. Glacial Lance, of course, being spread is unfortunately going to not hit either of those. Palkia is going to be the only source of damage for Ryan here. And if he pulls it right, he does go for that Wormwind into that Palkia. It's going to, Kyogre, sorry, is going to take the damage there. And Zacian is going to be even weaker compared to that Incineroar drop that happened earlier.
Right, so I think Ryan had sort of two options this turn. Either focus down the Zacian so it gets knocked out straight out, or do something like the Max Wormwind, which is what Ryan went for, to mitigate its damage output, putting its attack stage at -1 now, so that even if it were able to get the play rough or Behemoth Blade, like you mentioned, it won't do lethal damage to either of these Pokemon. But Benjamin just going for the safe play again, just going for protect on both Pokemon, guaranteeing that neither of them are getting knocked out. And now Ryan's gonna have to do the same decision this turn. Does he knock out the Zacian or just further mitigate his damage output? And yeah, it sounds like he just opted to bring out the Amoonguss instead.
Yeah, bringing Amoonguss does give you a nice Trick Room, repellent. It has Spore. It's usually slower than the Calyrex, so it can start putting things to sleep with things get attacks. It is weak to the Ice type though, so if it is one of those ones that is a faster Shroom, the fans call it a Zoom Shroom, it could be, taking hits unless its Focus Sash is taking very little. Kyogre being forced to go big though, because it is, scared it could lose its attack damage due to the damage taking. Amoonguss going straight down though, but it does save Zacian from being possibly taken out, but it does give that free Chilling Neigh attack boost. This is being Calyrex is a big threat, and Yuki, this does seem very scary here for Benjamin now.
Yeah, absolutely. As he goes for the Max Wormwind, doing a chunk to Kyogre, maybe a critical hit. Oh, guess not. It looks like Palkia is just that strong. And we'll see what Kyogre is going to fire back with. It's the Max Geyser, presumably into the Calyrex Ice. Will it be able to take this without any sort of defense boost from the Max Quakes? No, it goes straight down. So, yeah, it didn't look so great in the beginning of the turn. Benjamin losing his Amoonguss, the big answer to Trick Room usually, but instead getting that knockout since Ryan didn't opt to go for the Max Quake, pretty big for Benjamin. So yeah, I think he'll have a better time getting through Trick Room now, but the Amoonguss is coming in ready to put foes to sleep.
Yeah, the Amoonguss can come in on Ryan's side now and can just do what the Amoonguss on the side failed to do. It's little Amoonguss that could, but it couldn't do it. And now we just see Spores going here, there, and everywhere from what is probably a naturally slower Amoonguss, even if it wasn't its speed ties, and the Amoonguss ignores the Rage Powders anyway. So, that's always fun to see. And it just gives Palkia that free reign to put damage out. It can Max Quake the Zacian. It can just go for Max Wormwind on the Koga, guarantee that Zacian's weaker, while, the things are going to sleep or maybe being redirected from the Amoonguss. And from here, I feel Ryan has got the ability to pace out the game and just take him here. Of course, if Benjamin plays the turns correctly, he can stall out and he can get rid of that Trick Room, but can he do it fast enough that Palkia and Co aren't doing enough damage or aren't out enough HP to live, as Zacian switches out now and comes in full of Kartana. Kartana not really liking special moves and not liking being Trick Room. Max Guard coming out though from the Kyogre, so maybe calling very well. A Spore coming out, goes straight into that Max Guard, so a good call there from Benjamin, and it could have been a good call as well, because if it went to a Kartana slot, it would not have happened. Max Quake coming out into the Kartana, does loads of damage there, gets the knockout. Kartana often carrying that Assault Vest, that could be a very scary knockout if it does go through. Special defense boosts as well are amazing for the Pokemon that Ryan is facing down, not quite so much for that Zacian, no, the physical attacker, but Amoonguss can really deal with that by redirecting it and by putting to sleep if it lives a hit. Yeah,
absolutely. A big turn for Ryan there. I think, Benjamin brought out Kartana thinking, okay, maybe a Max Geyser will come out and my Kartana will be able to take it, but clearly not holding an Assault Vest item. A lot of the Kartanas these days seem to be a little bit more offensive, holding either the Life Orb or the White Herb item, even if it doesn't carry, any protects. It carries all 4 attacking moves. We see in this trend in teams these days where they just forego the Assault Vest so they can just put out more offensive pressure, and that's sort of, hurting Benjamin just now, because now that Kartana is not there to stall out another tournament Trick Room, and now it seems like the Kyogre might have to go for a double protect in order to make it through this last tournament Trick Room.
Yeah, Kyogre having to opt for maybe a double protect will be forcing less and less damage, but if it does get pulled off and the RNG is in Benjamin's favor, it will mean that he's going to be living a little bit longer. Zacian obviously isn't going for that protect, it's going for that Spore. I thought we were going to see a protect there. And Spore going onto the Zacian means it will be asleep up to 3 turns. Special Run coming out is going to grab the knockout on that Kyogre there, meaning that it is going to be a very slow-paced battle for the Zacian. And Ryan has the tools, has the utilities to just knock out this Zacian. It can use the Rain of the Kyogre against it by knocking out possibly with a Hydro Pump. If not, you have Pollen Puff to heal on the Palkia for the long game, and there's still Pokemon in the back that can deal nice damage to the Zacian while it is still asleep.
Right, and it's looking like a closeout game for Ryan here. Amoonguss usually trained to take Behemoth Blades from Zacian, so even if Zacian's lucky and gets the first turn wake up and, calls the Rage Powder and goes for the Behemoth Blade, I think this Amoonguss can survive. Palkia can get up the Trick Room, and I think Ryan will just still be in the driver's seat, but we see that, the Zacian still doesn't wake up, and Palkia accepts the second Trick Room, and I think, this might spell the end of the game for Benjamin.
Yeah, Benjamin had a great start to the game, but then, just the power of Trick Room and just the sheer bulk of Palkia in front of these Pokemon in terms of type effectiveness, and to an extent its stats as well, meaning that it could just go with the flow and could flowchart very easily of turn 1 Trick Room, turn 2 go big, and that's just what these teams like to do. Zacian living the Earth Power, Palkia, with its Life Orb and non-stab is going to do it, but it does wake up, Play Rough comes out, goes into the Amoonguss though, possibly thinking that it wasn't going to go for the Rage Powder or just going for the luck, maybe getting some sort of attack drop, which doesn't matter anyway, it just leaves free reign for it being a Trick Room, Spore to come off, Earth Power to come off, and Ryan looks like he is likely taking this first game. Zacian going for the protect, Benjamin thinking of a game plan, going for that double protect, and I think I'll be cheering loud and clear if we do see the double, triple, mega, everything protect go off there to get Benjamin this win.
Yeah, completely. But I think, Ryan's playing pretty smart this game so far, it seems. That previous turn, still going for that Rage Powder instead of an attacking move or protect, doing something cute. Doesn't do anything like that, so that, even if it wakes up and Ryan goes for the Play Rough, assuming that the Amoonguss might not go for Rage Powder, still goes for it. So, Ryan's just playing really, really well. And I think, Zacian can get quadruple protects. And I think it still probably won't matter as long as Ryan, plays smart and just continues to Rage Powder or just doesn't give Zacian any opportunities to knock out the Palkia.
Yeah, Zacian go for that third protect, not getting it though, which would have been amazing if Benjamin got it. So it would have been 1 protect away from getting that possible better win condition. The Pollen Puff healing loads on that Palkia though, so Ryan realizing he doesn't have to go for those Rage Powders, can just go for Pollen Puff. Because he is in Trick Room, so he will be faster. And just getting that health back to guarantee if any, slight discrepancies happen, there will be more damage for the Zacian to get through. But unfortunately, it isn't enough. And Palkia, and with Ryan, takes the first game, and Benjamin will have to rethink the game plan and maybe thinking straight up Hyper Offense on that turn 1 isn't the best option because you have that Palkia sitting right in front of you.
Yeah, exactly. I'm super curious to see how these players are going to adapt Kona. Like in the beginning, it seemed that Ryan was in the back foot a little bit because he lost the Incineroar turn 1 to a Water Spout, just took damage for free, Palkia included. But was able to get the Trick Room up, and I think the really heads up play from Ryan was that he kept hitting Glacial Lance even after the double protect from Zacian and Kyogre, maybe even indicating that they might stay in for the next turn after those double protects. Still continues to hit the Glacial Lance, really respecting the Amoonguss on the opposing end, especially since he didn't bring his own Tapu Fini. Just could really mess up his plans a lot if that Amoonguss were to switch in for basically Ryan's next attacks, where he might go for high horsepower instead or something. So I think that was probably the most pivotal turn where Benjamin didn't really conserve the Amoonguss to bring in the most safe position possible. So I think something he could adapt in game 2 is to be a little bit more conservative with the Amoonguss, bring it in while one Pokemon protects and the other one faints. Bring it in so that he still has offensive pressure with the partner Pokemon like the Kyogre and Zacian, while the Amoonguss still spores away at Ryan's Pokemon in his own Trick Room so that he can Benjamin can outlast the Trick Room. On the other hand, I can totally see an adaptation from Ryan where he brings in Tapu Fini instead of maybe the Incineroar, for example, so that the Amoonguss on the opposing end doesn't really need to be respected too much. Glacial Lance, for example, doesn't really care about a redirection like Rage Powder, and of course, the Misty Terrain will really help against the Spore. So I think both players really have the ability to change up their game plans a lot, and I'm just really curious to see, are they both going to do it, as one going to stick to one?
Yeah, if they stick to that 1-to-1, it is going to be possibly just a very good call for either player, as we do see, though, change-ups. The two Amoonguss are facing each other face-to-face now, so Rage Powders are going to be a shenanigan to choose from, but it also going to come down to who gets their Spore off first. Palkia can be spored by the Amoonguss if it goes for Trick Room, and Kyogre can be spored by Amoonguss if it lives a hit from Water Spout. So it is going to be very scary, and all players have to do is maybe navigate his turn very easily. We see Ryan doesn't have a Tapu Fini in the back, so maybe I was thinking he could have bluffed, maybe go for his own Spore, bring it in Tapu Fini in Amoonguss's place, stopping a Spore coming from the opposing Amoonguss and going for a Trick Room, but that won't be the case. But we also see no Spores will likely be going off this turn, at least into Benjamin's side. This is Protect from Kyogre, gets taken from the Glacial Lance Spore as well, going into the Kyogre, so Benjamin can freely put a Spore down on the Palkia, which it does go ahead and do, and that is going to be a great turn 1, completely shifting the tides that we saw in game 1 there.
Really, yeah. I mean, really big heads-up play from Benjamin. Really, respecting the fact that Kyogre is more of the big target here, the one that's not immune to Spore on his side of the field, and also can take some damage from Palkia. So goes for the Protect and totally punishes Ryan for focusing it down and spores the Palkia. I think on the other hand, the fact that Ryan can Spore second might be an advantage for him. As I say, as the Kartana comes out, and that's completely immune to anything that this Amoonguss can do.
Yeah, Amoonguss, is going to be sitting in front of something that can't do anything, and if it goes big, Kartana has been known to have maybe just the right amount of EVs to do big damage to Palkia, and Palkia, it can deal big damage back in return, but you have seen it do it, but it was forced to go for the Dynamax, and Dynamaxing your sleeping Pokemon is the best thing to do. Ryan looking to go to the Incineroar to get an attack drop on the Kartana and possibly take a Leaf Play from it, or maybe even a Max Overgrowth. But Benjamin could possibly call this and go for a Max Knuckle, get an attack boost, be even more powerful. And if it gets a knockout from that, or even not the knockout, it gets that neutral with the Beast Boost ability in the back there, it is going to be able to just keep stacking those boosts and take out whatever Pokemon it sees in front of it. If we do see a Dynamax, and I believe that, I can't remember whose side I was coming from, I'm gonna have to keep up on my trainer cards here. As you see, it's the Kartana going big for Benjamin, so possibly it is going for one of those big max moves into the slot that was the Palkia, hopefully calling the right one on the switch, if not doing a lot of damage where damage is due.
Absolutely, and yeah, really excited to see what move it goes for as it goes for the Max Overgrowth, not really going for that safe Incineroar switch in, so good play for Ryan, not seeing the Kyogre in sight, see the Incineroar could be a safe switch. On the other hand, Benjamin could take advantage of this, see this obvious switch, and go for the Spore in that slot of Palkia, which it doesn't do, goes for the Giga Drain, just anticipating that Ryan would want to get that Palkia out of sleep as soon as possible. But I still don't think Benjamin's in a bad position. Yes, the Kartana's at -1 attack, but on the other hand, it's still sort of in a 2v1 situation where the Amoonguss can't really do anything. We saw its moveset, and Pollen Puff is basically the only thing it can really do that's effective, and that just does barely any damage to either of Benjamin's current Pokemon. So it's kind of this 2v1 situation, and I think it's up to Ryan whether he wants to switch the Incineroar out to conserve the Intimidate for later, or maybe even go for the Dynamax to withstand Kartana's attack this turn.
Yeah, if it goes for Dynamax, that is something you don't see very often, either two Pokemon Dynamaxing, but it is still an option. Of course, the Rain is a bit of a hindrance to the Incineroar's possible damage output on both of these Steel-type Pokemon. Max Knuckle coming out, though, it could be a knockout on the Incineroar against the hard knife damage. It doesn't, it just misses, possibly activating a barrier. I do believe we saw a barrier on the team briefly, but it could have been Shucker for maybe opposing Landorus and opposing Groudon. And Kartana losing HP with its life orb is a bit scary in front of Incineroar, but it does just go for a parting shot, reducing its attack. Well, it did just get back, so back to -1 it goes, and a nice little switch in there for Ryan. And Ivory's Pokemon style Trick Room, but both of them are still very scared of these two Steel types sitting right in front of them. Even at -1 and +1 respectively, they are very, very scary to these Pokemon unless Amoonguss can get some sleep down on the Zacian. Calyrex is the choice to come in though, which could be good for getting Trick Room up if Pokemon are asleep or weakened. As to see how well both players navigate this turn going forth.
Yes, and we see the Amoonguss called a switch out from the Amoonguss on Benjamin's end. Great heads-up play from Ryan. Yeah, just noticing that the Amoonguss can't do much against Ryan's Pokemon, maybe anticipating that the Incineroar would, switch out for the sleeping Palkia or something. So, not going for a Spore. So, yeah, really, really great play for Ryan. I think it could have been dangerous pretty fast if Ryan had, not gone for that Spore, because then that Zacian is currently at +2 thanks to that Max Knuckle from Kartana. And might really have struggled to fend off his offense, but yeah, now we see that he's forced to switch it out and back into this Amoonguss, and we'll see if Ryan's able to punish this, whether he went for Rage Powder and Trick Room. He has a lot more options now, and with Benjamin's Dynamax finally coming to a close this turn, I think it hits his turn to rev it up as we see him go for the Dynamax.
Yeah, timing your Dynamax very well is something that is very important in this metagame, I feel, because it does mean that you can, pace your turns a little bit better. Your opponent's going small while you're going big, and you have that higher damage roll. Of course, both these Pokemon are very scary to be Dynamaxing in front of. You can get spoiled by the Amoonguss. You can take this Max Steel Spike, which even at -1 it is going to do a nice chunk, and it is going to get that defense boost, meaning that Calyrex is having to break through another barrier there just to try and get a damage off that it loves to get off. It has got the stats to do it, and it has done it in the past. So you do see though the weakness policy comes off though, so even better chance there. That +1 in defense is nothing to that +2. You're basically now at +1 with the Calyrex. It goes for a Max Quake, just playing its options very safely into Moongus, possibly thinking it still be the Zacian. It does a nice bit of damage there, and it gives Incineroar the room to knock out Ivory's Pokemon if it gets the time to do so.
Yeah, Ryan just really taking advantage of Benjamin's free Max Steel Spike, right? Like, it's so easy to want to do that, right? You see a Pokemon that's the Ice type, it might set up Trick Room, and it has physical attacks. So why wouldn't I want a Max Steel Spike? And just really taking advantage of that by mitigating the damage output thanks to the Intimidate, and then reversing the Intimidate over from Benjamin's end to gain the attack with weakness policy. And yes, he got the read wrong with the Zacian switching out, but I'd say he's still in a great position. This Kartana just doesn't have the firepower to get through this Dynamax Calyrex. And now I think it's going to be a question of whether Benjamin can get a Zacian in the right position so that it can take out this Calyrex Ice before it does too much damage for Benjamin to recover from.
Yeah, having to get rid of that Calyrex Ice is something that both Pokemon can do. Of course, Amoonguss, could go for Spore if he calls the plays right. The Kartana has the ability to just play turns well. We do see the Amoonguss come in for the Incineroar there. Sacred Sword will do very little damage into that. Unfortunately, not really many Amoonguss run the Rocky Helmet or possibly the Effect Spore ability, which could have been very funky if we'd got a status effect off on that Kartana. Max Quake into Amoonguss, just calling it safe, possibly on a Zacian switch in. Special defense boosts aren't the best thing in front of the Pokemon here. Kyogre coming in could be a bit annoying in special defense, could annoy that a little bit, but Kartana and Zacian are happy to see this Ice-type Pokemon getting special defense boosts. So they're just going to be able to go for something like go for not even Max Steel Strike, but the Smart Strike, or go for their Behemoth Blade. And if Zacian catches the Calyrex while it is still Dynamaxed, that's going to be a lot of damage. And of course the Amoonguss can redirect that, but it can't redirect away the Kartana, which can still be very scary once the Calyrex goes small.
Yeah, even though the Amoonguss can't redirect the Kartana, I think the Kartana's pretty whittled down thanks to all the Intimidates and Parting Shots that have gone into it. And I was gonna say if the Zacian comes in, then the Amoonguss can easily take the attack with the Rage Powder, knock out the Kartana with a Max Hailstorm, for example, and then the Incineroar can come in for a Fake Out and Trick Room, which I think is still possible with this Kyogre switching in, especially with Calyrex having all those Max Quake boosts. I think Benjamin might need some help with critical hits in order to stay in this game. As he switches out the Kartana, good heads up play with how much damage is taken, or sorry, how much Intimidates is taken.
Yeah, the Intimidates going round is, something to be wary of. Of course, the switch outs, always good. But can't remember if the Zacian has gone down yet. We see the Max Quake coming out. There's another special defense boost. It goes into that Kyogre, so it goes into the Zacian.
Oh.
Zacian takes that sort of great call there from Ryan, of course, just thinking, damage into any of whatever Pokemon's on this slot is good damage, and getting that boost as well is going to be amazing. Zacian going down is amazing though for Ryan. It was a hindrance, it was a pain in the backside for that Calyrex, and now you can just rain free and Moongus can redirect things. And that Kartana, yes, it can be annoying, but once it comes in, can it get through this Calyrex with all by itself?
Right. I mean, just Ryan just reading Benjamin left and right, just going for the Max Quake, even though technically the Max Hailstorm would do more damage. Just anticipating that, the switch out would happen, or worst case, thanks to the weakness policy boost, I'm going to be able to do enough damage to knock it out. So yeah, now I think we're still back to the same stage where the Kartana and Kyogre are guaranteed to at least hit the Calyrex once, even if it protects this turn and Incineroar comes out next. It can only fake out one Pokemon, and obviously, even if he doesn't do that and just goes straight for the Rage Powder, then can't redirect either the Water Spout or the Smart Strike coming out for the Kartana. So still in the same position where one critical hit will basically win Benjamin the game, I believe. But aside from that, I think Ryan really has this locked down. So I think he might just be in sort of in the mode to just hope and pray that Benjamin doesn't get that 1 in 24 chance.
Yeah, Benjamin pushing that 1 in 24 chance is going to be something, we have seen it happen before on different types of calls, that 1 in 24 in Pokemon, but, just for the sake of Commentator's Curse, let's try not say who gets that 1 in 24 chance there. As you see the Water Spout coming out, it's going to do a nice bit of damage to the Amoonguss, not enough to be threatening. If we see the Kartana go for it, didn't go for that, it went for the Calyrex. The Spore coming out is going to put the Kyogre straight to sleep again. I mean, as Kyogre has taken 1 attack, maybe 2, this entire game now, meaning that, Incineroar can come in, it can switch, it can parting shot the Kyogre, it can intimidate the Kartana. I mean, that Calyrex is nice and safe, and even for that Trick Room, it will have the pace to go slow and steady and win the race that is this game too. And both players have just played it so well, but Ryan has just, known the matchup, has probably practiced this over and over again, knowing that Zacian plus Kyogre is going to be one of each face lots and lots. Air Relay's coming out, probably predicted it still to be Amoonguss, living on 11 HP. That Incineroar happy to have that Intimidate by its side, meaning that Pokemon have longer and further to go for that Trick Room this time though, and then making them the slower Pokemon faster, meaning that Incineroar can get its party shot out as soon as possible, not risk any sleep turns, and Calyrex has its Glacial Lance, which both these Pokemon do not like taking it.
Yeah, I mean, if you saw how many red up arrows there are on that status page for Calyrex Ice, it's just such a strong force to be reckoned with. I think this Kartana probably stands no chance taking an attack, especially not having any of those max Steel Spike boosts. Ryan just going for the Glacial Lance, doing the fake out on Kyogre, knowing he won't be able to knock it out. Or it will, because this Calyrex Ice is just pumped way too much up and goes for the double knockout on a Pokemon that it has. It can resist its attack. So just incredible last turn. I'm just at a loss of words how well positioned Ryan was, and how strong that Calyrex Ice was at the very end, thanks to all the Chill Nay boosts.
Yeah, Calyrex is one of those Pokemon that, given its typing, often is quite targeted down by these Zacians, and you think it's not going to be very good. The strongest Pokemon in the game can just knock it out. But once it gets rolling, once it gets that snowball going on it, it just gets those knockouts and a boost after boost after boost, even if it's a Dynamax boost or its regular attack boost, and it can knock out these things like Kyogre, it can knock out things like Kartana, which have really high defense stats on natural resistances, and they're just gone like we saw there. And I too was just lost for words. Like, I don't know if I've ever seen that before. I've often seen them live on a little bit of HP and get the revenge kill, but that was just amazing pivoting to get those stat boosts there by Ryan.
And just one more thing I want to call out is I really like to play in the second to last turn there, where he protected the Calyrex Ice and went for a Spore in the Kyogre. Just sort of, I think we talked about how he still has that 1 in 24 chance of losing. If Benjamin had gone for the double into the Calyrex ice slot and gets a critical hit on one of them, it just kind of ended the game for Ryan. But because he kind of saw that Benjamin would double into that slot, he says, okay, in the next turn you might be getting a maybe a smart strike, critical hit onto my Calyrex ice, but I'm gonna at least respect that by going for the sport into the Kyogre, since I know you're gonna double into that instead. And the next turn, even if you do get that critical hit, you have a sleeping Kyogre, so I'll be able to recover even better. So I think just really, really great like risk mitigation playing by Ryan, just down even when he's in such a favorable state, just thinking through every turn and not just rushing for the Rage Powder trick room that he could have also easily done. So I think that's just really well played from both ends. Honestly, just a lot of adaptation that we saw. I just really loved how Benjamin brought the Amoonguss in turn one, noticing how he could have potentially won game one if he had it, just stay on the field a little bit longer. So yeah, just such a great showing of best of three. And this means Canada's going 3-3, and they are just basically one more win away from making it to single elimination. So lots of stakes in these next two matches coming up.
Yeah, lots and lots of stake indeed. And, if Ryan can play like that and Canada being quite a close knit community, they can just repeat that over and over again. The teams may be similar. Maybe they've worked out, hey, our players are going very hyper offensive. I know having Stefan Mott in their team, that a lot of Switzerland might be going for the Kyogre plus Ashencore, or just Kyogre plus something, because he took it so far at regionals. He's won regionals with it. But, maybe tapping into that and thinking, you know what? If we beat that mode, we can win. All the players going to have a counter for that team, and they're probably just going to, Canada could possibly take this, and I believe that it's either their second time in top 16 if they do make it, or maybe they just missed out last year. I can't quite remember, but it'd be great to see Canada toppling one of the top 8 teams from last season.
Yeah, I believe Canada just barely got eliminated last year in the group stage, so I think this would be the first time in the Victory World Cup that they would make it to single elimination top 16, which would be just such a treat to watch. So definitely, follow all the social media that we talked about earlier and just get in the fray because this is a real nail biter. But also don't go away anywhere from the stream, because we are just about to come up with the next match of Italy versus Peru, two big powerhouses. You don't want to miss it, so just stay on.